Hi there, I'm Terry Culver, Executive Director at Digital Finance Group. Very pleased to be moderating today's discussion on how Polkadot is fostering innovation in Web3 with these experts. And I look forward to learning what they have to say. And so maybe in order to get started, quick introduction, and then if you could highlight in just a few words what drew you to the Polkadot ecosystem to begin with. James.
Hi everyone, my name is James, founder and CEO of DFG. So we've been investing to Polkadot from literally day one. So that was really long time ago, and grow together with the Polkadot ecosystem. So investing to really somehow between 40 to 50 Polkadot projects during the last bull cycle. Polkadot have a lot of good things that in the whole community, right? But also have the problems like we are facing right now. So I'm trying to kind of work together with all the portfolios, with Web3 Foundation, with Parity, with everyone in the communities, trying to make here a better place.
Awesome. Hi everybody, I'm John. I'm from Outlier Ventures. We are the oldest, most active Web3 accelerator. We've crossed paths with Parity and Polkadot quite a bit in the past. We've done some ecosystem development with Parity. We've worked with many of the parachains in the ecosystem. More recently, we've been focusing on a program that we're spinning up in Latin America. And I know there's a vibrant kind of Polkadot community there. So we're talking more recently about continuing some of our engagements and hopefully bringing some new investors and kind of fresh building into Latin America, because we see a lot of opportunity there, which I can maybe touch on a little bit later, but that's Outlier.
Yeah, thanks so much for coming, everyone. Excited to be here. I'm TOBIAS. We run Blockchain Founders Fund, which is more of a general VC fund. We invested in, I think, 180 companies and also LP'd in some funds. And we kind of took a stance that we want to get a lot more active in a Polkadot ecosystem. That's why I was quite excited when we connected in Japan with these guys from Harbour Industrial to really deploy a larger investment into the Polkadot ecosystem directly. So that's why I'm here today, to really understand a little bit more, meet more projects. Max has been very helpful, and Mario, to show us how to get access into the ecosystem. Because we do have a strong conviction that there is a lot of value to be captured, a lot of projects to be supported.
Thank you. Max REBOL from Harbour Industrial, as we have just heard. We're a VC fund based out of Hong Kong and are 100% exclusively focused on the Polkadot ecosystem. We have around 40 LPs at the moment, like a lot of old money, like family offices invested in us. We have around 21 portfolio companies all within the Polkadot ecosystem. And yeah, I guess our whole approach to this game here is like bringing capital into the Polkadot ecosystem, introducing capital allocators to all the exciting things that are happening on Polkadot. Polkadot is a bit of an island within the entire crypto world, and we're kind of trying to bridge this gap from a funding perspective, sharing deal flow, creating this like deal pipeline for other VCs that are potentially interested and at the same time are not that familiar with Polkadot yet.
So, thank you. Tobias, let's go back to you for a second. What do you think are the current strengths in the Polkadot ecosystem that are unique, you won't find in other ecosystems?
Yeah, I think, a lot of people consider it as an island, but I think the island is very, very strong. So at a core, you have people who've been in the space for a long time. You're a great example. And there's still a lot of conviction to it, right? Of course, there might be challenges, but I think having that like kind of dense OG community that is still driving and pushing value forward is something we like as a fund, right? Because that's not something that's just going to go away. If we invest in other ecosystems that are not yet established, in a sense, for good or bad, there's a lot of risk because we're not deploying $1 million. We want to deploy larger capital into ecosystems. And I think, also Polkadot has a lot of capital, right? So they can do stuff if they want, if they find the right narrative. And I think overall, from what we have seen and when we talk to, you guys and a couple others, is that there's a lot more inflow and people just building communities, right? We run bigger crypto events, so there's a lot of we have seen over the last probably like 6 to 8 months was a lot more interest of like, can we get connected to the Polkadot ecosystem? right? Which we haven't seen so much before. So I do think there's a stronger wave coming into the space now, especially from developers, because they respect the tech, right? And the tech has been something that I think has been, sort of a leader across many different ecosystems. Of course, there's challenges as always, but I think having a core strong tech, having a core ecosystem, and seeing that sort of movement towards Polkadot is what excites us as a fund to deploy more capital. And that's what we're looking for allies to, understand the deal flow, understand the projects that are now building and how we can get involved in them.
Thank you. James, you and Tobias and Max have all mentioned current challenges in the Polkadot ecosystem. Could you name what a couple of those are?
Sure. I think we have very strong tech framework for Polkadot, like Substrate. Actually, a lot of projects, top 100 projects use Substrate to build. For example, Tensor, in the private market like Avail. I mean, these kind of projects use Substrate, but the point is like they are not, aligned with Polkadot a lot on the marketing side. So people don't realize, okay, Substrate is actually very easy to use, and a lot of good projects use Substrate to build. So I think we can certainly do better on the marketing side and educate people how well Substrate is, and make sure there will be new good projects use Substrate to build. This is certainly the first part of it. I think the second part of it is because of the staking reward is slightly high. I mean, that makes the inflation slightly high. You get like 15% of the staking reward a year, which is great, right? If you stake your DOT, I mean, so far 50% of DOT has been staked. So that is great if you're a DOT holder. But if you view this as a longer term, it could be a potential challenge because you are issuing DOT like a lot of DOT a year. Potential inflation for DOT is somewhere between 8.7 or 8.6% a year. That is pretty high even compared to fiat. So we should probably find a balance between getting high staking reward and also control the inflation. So I would say that's probably the second challenge we are facing. Marketing is the first. The second is about the inflation. The third is more about building a very strong community. I feel this conference already being much better than the last one. It's pretty well attended. A lot of people, new people coming to Polkadot space. But we will see like, okay, how can we make sure all these kind of community members are passionate about technology, loyal to the Polkadot ecosystem, not leaving Polkadot. So this is actually the third part is building a very strong and good community.
Thank you. Max, anything to add to that?
Well, you're talking about challenges. I think the one thing that is on everyone's mind at the moment is the whole marketing drama, right? Like the big number that came out, the 37 million that has been spent on marketing initiatives throughout the last half year. So everyone's talking about that now, right? Which, fair enough, it's a big headline number. I mean, what I would say about that is other ecosystems are probably spending pretty much the same amount and arguably more, but Polkadot is just way more transparent, right? That's why this is public information. That's why everyone is able to talk about it. But having said that, I'm the first one to agree that we have to get more return on investment on the marketing spend, right? And I think one way to do that is not like this classical KOL marketing, but more simple like adoption by real-world companies that use Polkadot technology. And to that end, we're doing quite a lot of business development, let's call it, in the sense of like bringing in traditional companies that have like a very established user base that don't do anything on Web3 yet, but that are interested in the space, and bring them in and bring their users with them. I think that's kind of the easiest way at the current stage to get to this, rather than bootstrapping it, right? From the beginning, getting those projects in to build on Polkadot. And to that end, we're, for example, talking to like a big healthcare provider at the moment in Southeast Asia. We're talking to like a big media company in Asia as well that wants to build. So these are like kind of the fast track onboarding user approaches that we really like, right? I think infrastructure was mentioned at the beginning. Infrastructure on Polkadot, I think, is really nicely built out already. Now the next challenge is obviously user adoption, and that's probably the current, the current challenge that we have to face.
Thanks for mentioning that. I wanted to go back to your comment, John, about the community in Latin America. Maybe you could talk a bit about what that is and how it functions.
Sure, yeah. I mean, I think, so when we first started looking into Latin America, and maybe I'll take a step back. At Outlier Ventures, we run approximately 3 cohorts, accelerator cohorts per quarter, and they're really based on where momentum is and where adoption takes place and where we see there being value to invest. And I think, when it comes to Latin America, we see there's incredible product market fit. I was in a room the other day focused on an accelerator in Argentina, and half or 3/4 of the people there were Argentinian, and the moderator said, how many people here are using crypto as their primary means of transacting? And almost everybody raised their hand, which is like, we're in a kind of obviously a friendly crowd, more crypto users here, but we all know there's incredible adoption there. And the point is that we see that as being a very vibrant place to invest. And we also see, Polkadot, based on the community orientation, based on the strength of conviction that people have in decentralized, principles, and we think there's a lot of alignment, and we're happy and hopefully to kind of proceed and be able to work alongside one another to continue to build a community and really invest in adoption and demand in places where it exists.
Thanks. Tobias, to pick up on that thread, what do you think draws people into the ecosystem? Is it solid technology? Is it incentives? Is it speculation?
Just one quick add-on to what you before I go to that question is because I just came from Argentina like 2 weeks ago, and I was in Brazil the before, and it was surprising how many people were talking about Polkadot. When we joined like some crypto meetups, it was probably the #1 ecosystem people talked about, which was like, this is exciting. And they have a payment app, I forgot what it's called, where you can instant basically swap their local currency to crypto, and one of the #1 cryptocurrencies people swapped it to was DOT. So that's just like random side note.
And why is that, do you think?
I mean, I asked. I mean, I'm not from Latin America. It's the first time I've been there, but from what I've heard in the industry, was just like people like the establishment around Polkadot, right? It's like that's what we've also seen is a lot of like Web2 companies that are not crypto native. They can identify with Polkadot because it is such an established technology, well-functioning ecosystem, right? But like they don't want to be associated with like this more degen-related ecosystem and tech where like I feel more comfortable getting established here, right? I think that's what we have a lot of corporate partners on the fund where we kind of similar to like a plug and play idea where we don't charge for this, but we just like help them get exposure, and a lot of them were interested in like the Polkadot ecosystem for those reasons. And I think it's South America, like that's what the echo was a lot. It was like they had a very strong, dense community in that part of the world, and I think I got in crypto in 2017 because of the community, and like you then choose where you fit in, so to say, and where it echoes most of what you're trying to do, and that was from what I had a small sample size obviously, but from what people told me, that was kind of the main reason why it was so dense there compared to like other parts of the world. I wouldn't say in Asia it's not that strong at that point, right? Compared to like South America.
Right. Thank you. So James, from your point of view, what builds community?
It's a tough question. I think we need to have the common target consensus on one thing. So first we need to be like the vision of the protocol. I know potentially for the protocol the narrative can change, but I would love to have probably people have the same vision about, okay, this is the right path to go. In that way, we will kind of have a strong community. So unless people are all agree on one thing, okay, this is the right thing. Otherwise, people think differently, then it's very hard for the people to be loyal to the community, right? So this is actually the core value of the protocol. I think Polkadot doing this pretty good in the last bull cycle. People agree okay, this is visions. We need, we not only need smart contract, we need to issue a chain, which is the easiest way to use either substrate or Tendermint, right? So then, okay, so maybe we build a substrate and there's 100, we don't have too many chains, so we have 100 pair chain maximum. So that's the value, and people agree on the value. So that's why Polkadot have a very, very strong performance in 2020. I think at that time, Polkadot ranked at the third on the coin market cap. But right now, I think it seems a little bit unclear during the past few years about what is the direction Polkadot will go. So some of people in the Polkadot community left and doing other things, which is fine. But I think right now, after the release of Gem and other things, we need to regain that momentum. Okay, this is the direction. This is the course. A value and the core things that Polkadot will do, and people all agree on this. In that way, we can regain the momentum of the community of Polkadot, and we can move forward.
Thanks. Max, back to your description of Polkadot as being on an island, and you're trying to bridge out from that island to other land masses, right? Do we lose anything in doing that?
So look, I mean, the thing that drove me to Polkadot in the first place is the idea of interoperability, right? That's really what struck with me, that struck a tone. Other ecosystems, without naming any names here, if you stay on the main chain and do stuff there, everything is very fast, very efficient, fairly secure, let's say. But as soon as you're trying to go somewhere else, it stops working, right? Or you're creating risks that you don't want to take, right? You remember all these big bridge hacks that happened 2 years ago. For example, Nomad or Wormhole, or the X Infinity guys on Ronin, right? Their bridge too. All of them got hacked, and each of them were hundred millions of dollars lost or stolen from users that had used this bridge. So these traditional bridging contracts, the custodial bridges, they don't work, right? And Polkadot, I think from the beginning said, well, we are moving into a multi-chain future, right? Some people use the word omni-chain future, where there will be many different chains specializing on different things as they have to do different trade-offs. I think the one thing that all of them will need is interoperability, because they don't want to be islands. They should not be islands, right? I mean, what's the point? Doing one thing on one chain, you're never going to capture them all. It's not kind of Lord of the Rings, one to rule them all. I don't think that's the future of blockchains, right? There will be many different chains out there, right? And now the question really that I ask myself is, how do you connect them securely? And to that end, I think there are two things worth mentioning. One is XCM, right? The cross-consensus messaging protocol that allows parachains on Polkadot to communicate with each other in a seamless non-custodial and permissionless fashion. So that's super important. That is live, that works. I'm using it every day. Great, no problems. And the other thing is the new generation of trustless bridges that link Polkadot and the Ethereum world. And there are two honorable shout-outs here, Snowbridge and Hyperbridge, that are of this generation, that have been enabled by the Beefy upgrade. And now we're able to do this kind of non-custodial trustless bridging to other ecosystems that is so incredibly important, because I think bridging is a great thing, but it has to be done in a secure and permissionless manner, and that's where we're moving to.
Thanks. John, are there any projects in your mind that epitomize, what Polkadot could or should be?
Well, I mean, we all, we look at the ones that are the most kind of far along, and I think the thing that I would point out, and what I was thinking about actually, just now, is there's a real sense of collaboration between, just in general. I feel like founders in Polkadot ecosystem realize that it's impossible to go it alone. There's this idea that decentralization is important, and that's been something that's kind of maybe held Polkadot back to your first question a little bit. And there's not one driving force, but because of that, everybody realizes that we have to work together. So I think of Energy Web in terms of the consortium that they put together, Moonbeam, and just how they have to integrate, and that's like part of their product. And it's very different from other ecosystems where there are a lot of walls and a lot of like competition, and sometimes unfriendly competition. Whereas here it's like a rising tide. So I think it kind of is across the board when I think about the ecosystem. Yeah.
Thanks. Tobias, any favorite projects that you think really epitomize what Polkadot could be?
So, hello? Oh, yeah. Okay. I mean, the way we look at this is, when we invest in a new ecosystem, and keep in mind we haven't really invested in Polkadot yet, right? Because for a long time our fund has been very agnostic in terms of where projects are building. So that means that like the predominant projects that came to us were projects on ecosystems that were exciting, right? New stuff, Parachain, Solana, like all these type of things. But now, one mistake we did was we didn't always fully understand the ecosystem, right? Which means like the way I want to change our thesis now a little bit more is when you make a commitment to an ecosystem, you're actually starting to fully understand it, right? Because as a VC investor, which is a more general venture capital fund, it is very easy to say, oh, this is a really cool project on whatever chain, and you just back it, right? Because that's your whole job. But the problem we had is like we wanted to go more ecosystem specific now, and really go through the whole value chain of an ecosystem, and start by understanding the infrastructure, and then going from the bottom to the top, like from an infrastructure layer to the application layer of the projects. And I do think that gives you, first of all, a better standing of getting more access to deal flow within that ecosystem, right? Because you become, to an extent, a well-known player, and you also start to connect with people that are in the ecosystem, like the specific funds or the OG projects, or even like the foundation itself, that will drive deal flow to you as a fund. I think that's a general problem actually in venture capital, that like there's a lot of spray and pray approaches between everything, right? It's like every fund is looking at more from like what narrative is hot, and then they back it, right? But like no one really thinks about how is the future of the infrastructure looking, and how can you kind of best approach this from an investment perspective. I mean, we don't have a mandate for Polkadot, right? No one of LP will ever ask us to invest more in Polkadot. They don't care, right? They don't invest as, unlike you guys, where it's like, I want to be part of Polkadot. But like my approach as an investor is I want to find those ecosystems that have a lot of potential, understand them, and back them from the bottom to the top. Not in everything, but like in like the key projects that we think together with the people we interact with have a lot of aspiration, right? So for me, there's a lot of stuff to learn on Polkadot, because we've never really made a commitment so deep to an ecosystem that I'm excited to be here for the first time at Polkadot Decoded, and just trying to really understand, meet founders, builders, funds to get an idea of an ecosystem. And I think that's a big learning we've done over the last like 5 years of investing.
Yeah. Thank you. James, you mentioned of the things that would be helpful to address are agreement on a vision, marketing, and somehow dealing with the current inflation rate. Is there a deadline on addressing these issues?
Oh, good question. So I feel like everything has to be approved by the community, right? So if there's any kind of proposals on inflation, we can certainly talk about it. But I think marketing is more about gradually, right? You cannot make Polkadot famous all of a sudden. You have to continuously spending the money wisely and do marketing in different jurisdictions. Make sure Polkadot, it's pretty interesting. You cannot like just do it at for example, go to one country, any country in Asia, maybe do it once, then people won't remember you. You have to always like go to the for the other big conference in that country, always talk about Polkadot, then people will realize, okay, this is something I should take a look. So marketing is more about you have to do it gradually, and it will give you like impact in the long term. It's not like I'm doing this, then okay, people will use it. People need education. You have to talk to them again and again, they will use it. And the other like about the community is also a long-term like a thing. I would say it's very hard to set up a deadline for all these kind of things. But I would love to see this kind of change have at least have a we have a big progress or improvement by the end of by the end of this bull market or whatever this year or next year. It would be glad to see that.
Thank you. John, is there anything about the Polkadot ecosystem that you feel is important for Tobias to know as he's thinking about investing in the ecosystem? Yeah. What's the alpha here?
Well, first of all, I feel like we're in the same boat here in the sense that we see an amazing opportunity given to invest a lot of great projects, a lot of building that's taking place, vibrant community. I wish I could give you some alpha, but also I think part of what we do is we invest very, very early stage. We're first money in. Usually, what we do is help teams to get to a pre-seed or a seed round. So, I think a lot of the times we're exploring ecosystems and communities ourselves. So I think that's the point of this program that we would do is be able to come away with some really solid learnings and then double down in on teams and places that or areas or verticals that we think are most promising, all things considered. So, yeah.
Just one thing I want to add on, which is quite surprising, I thought, is we invest for a long time now. We get probably like 500 to 600 pitch decks a month sent to the fund. And it's surprising how low the percentages of companies building on Polkadot. And so, I'm saying, like, obviously these funnels are not very Polkadot curated, but it's just like very few companies building on Polkadot or like make it visible within their materials. And then once I started sort of getting a little closer to the ecosystem through you guys and a couple others, that's what I think for Polkadot specifically, you have to be in these allies to get the deal flow in the first place. It's very difficult to just sit there and be like it just doesn't really happen that much, right? So I think that's why you have to be, that's why there's so much value as a venture capital fund to spend more time within one place to really see all the good deals that come in through and not just like one selected couple that go through your funnel and then like you just make a more impulsive bet because, I want to get exposure to the ecosystem without actually thinking it through.
Yeah. So we have about 2 minutes left. Max, any advice, words of wisdom here?
No, look, I mean, I like what you said at the end. I mean, that's why we decided right from the beginning we're going to focus only on Polkadot, right? We're a Polkadot only fund. And yes, one of the main reasons is because that way we get all the deal flow. So for example, we're going to the PBA, right? The Polkadot Blockchain Academy. Mario, my co-founder over there, was just like in Singapore for the PBA last week or 2 weeks ago. This is like this is where it's happening in the Polkadot space. We have to be there, but I understand that like a more generic VC fund could not go to all these like academies, so to speak, and meet the people who are building on Polkadot at that early stage, right? For our fund, we're also very much early stage, right? We love to do like seed rounds as well. The way I'm kind of thinking of Polkadot at the moment is as arguably like the best contrarian trade of this cycle, right? I mean, everyone wants to be a contrarian, but it's kind of tough to be one. I think with Polkadot, you kind of have an opportunity right now because it's a brilliant ecosystem. There are so many things happening, but the valuation are low compared to other comparative ecosystems.
Yeah. Thanks, Max. And James, you've been a proven champion of the Polkadot ecosystem. Any advice, words of wisdom here for Tobias or the audience?
Yeah, I think for us, I mean, people ask us recently whether you are still supporting Polkadot. We definitely are. So, I think we are here to stay. During the last bull market, we invest into a lot of Polkadot projects. Maybe, I don't know, 50%, 60% of these names are our portfolios. So if there's any good project willing to build on Polkadot and committed to this in the long term, we'll definitely take a look and support. So, I think there's, always noise, around you about why you shouldn't do that, you shouldn't do this. It's up to you for the decision. Once you do something meaningful and committed to it in the long term, then I think that have value.
Well, thank you. So that wraps up our panel today, and a round of applause for our panelists, James, John, Tobias, Max. Thank you.